Okay, so now we've got our photo entity added, we can now implement the logic for actually adding a new photo, and we're going to create a new handler for this. So inside our application project and inside the photos, we're going to create a new class and we'll just call it add. We'll keep our naming really simple. And what we'll do is we'll create a public class that's going to be a command. And we'll say iRequest, and we're going to return our results, which is going to be a type of photo. Even though this is a command, we do need to return our photo to the client because it's going to contain both the URL and the public ID of the photo, both of which we cannot get just on the client side. We have to get this back from our API. So what we'll do is we'll bring in mediator, and we'll bring in our results object from application core, and also the domain where our photo is located. And all we need as a parameter here is the file itself. So what we'll do is we'll say prop iForm file, and we'll give it a name of file. And what we'll do, we'll bring in using Microsoft ASP.NET Core HTTP. And when it comes to testing, by the way, this name is quite important. We'll take a look at this in Postman, but if you call this something else other than file, then make a note of what you've called it, and I'll show you where you need to change this in Postman shortly. But if you call it file, then you won't need to change anything. So then what we'll do, we'll create our handler. So we'll say public class handler, and it's going to be an iRequest handler, and we pass in our command and the result object of type photo. And then we can go ahead and implement our interface. And what do we need to add inside our handler? Well, we're going to need a constructor, and we need to add our data context so that we can actually save our photo into the database, or at least the photo URL into the database. And we need our iPhoto accessor, and we'll call it photo accessor. And we also need our iUser accessor, and we'll call it user accessor. And let's bring in using application interfaces, and then we can go ahead and initialize these fields from parameter. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we're obviously going to return an async task. And the first thing we'll go and do is we'll go and get our user from the database, as only the currently logged in user can add a photo to that particular user's photos collection. So what we'll do is we'll say var user equals await, and we'll say context.users. And what we're going to need to use for this is eager loading, because we need to get access to the user's photo collection when we're doing this. So what we'll do is we'll say include, and we'll bring in Microsoft Entity Framework Core, and then we'll say p goes to p.photos. And then we'll say first order default async, and we'll say x goes to x.username equal to the user accessor.get username. And we'll check to see if the user is null. And if it is, then we're just going to return null. Then what we want to do is go and try and add our photo to Cloudinary. So what we'll do is we'll say var photo upload result equals await, and we'll say photo accessor, and we'll say add photo, and we're going to pass up the request.file. Now, if this fails, then the logic inside our photo accessor is going to throw an exception. So we don't need to check this. We're going to get an exception if this doesn't work. So what we'll do is we'll say var photo equals new photo, and we'll set the URL equal to photo upload results.url, and we'll set the ID equal to photo upload results.id, or public ID. And what we also want to do is check to see if the user has any photos that are already set to main. And if not, then this is the first photo that that user is uploading, so we're going to take the opportunity to set it to be their main photo if they do not have any photos that are currently set to main in their photos collection. So what we'll do is we'll check. We'll add the not operator, and we'll say user.photos.any, and we'll need to bring in system.link to use this, and we'll say x goes to x.isMain. And if that is the case, there are no photos that are set to main, then we'll say photo.isMain equals true. And then we can go ahead and add the photo to the user's collection. So we'll say users.photo add, and then we'll pass in the newly created photo. And then we can go and save our changes to the database. So we'll say var result equals await, and we'll say context and save changes async greater than 0, and we'll check the results. So we'll say if result, then return, and we'll pass back our results object of type photo, and we'll say success, and we're returning the photo from this particular method. And if that fails, then we're going to return result of type photo dot failure, and we'll just say problem adding photo. And this will suffice for our photos add method. And what we'll take a look at next is we'll add a new controller for our photos, and we'll test our ability to upload this image.